Welcome to part 86 of the Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg, where we explore true crime, urban legends, mysterious disappearances, myths and legends, internet mysteries, and more. Quick reminder to click like and subscribe and the notification bell. Cindy Gina Crow, known simply as the Smith County Jane Doe for nearly 40 years, was recently identified through a groundbreaking effort combining forensic science and genetic genealogy. Crow's skeletal remains were first discovered in October 1985 along Interstate 20 in Smith County, Texas. Her body had reportedly been left in a secluded gully for over a year before a highway maintenance crew found her. With no form of identification and no immediate family ties apparent, her case went cold until advancements in DNA technology offered new possibilities. In 2021, the Smith County Sheriff's Office enlisted the DNA Doe Project, the DDP, a nonprofit focused on solving cold cases involving unidentified remains. Working with advanced genetic tools, the team generated a DNA profile from Crow's bones and uploaded it to GEDmatch Pro and FTDNA, databases that allow law enforcement access. Through this, they were able to find a match in Crow's family tree. A significant breakthrough came in late 2023 when volunteers discovered a DNA match with one of Crow's first cousins. This connection was pivotal, leading the investigative team to Crow's identity within hours, a rare feat in such cases. Crow, who was in her mid-20s at the time of her death, was identified formally in April 2024, bringing an end to her decades-long mystery. That said, while the mystery of her identity has now been solved, this is really just the start of the unsolved mystery associated with Cindy Crow. Originally from Arlington, Texas, she had a daughter in July 1984, only a short period before she went missing. According to family accounts, Crow had a somewhat transient lifestyle, with family members describing her as a drifter. She often hitchhiked, which raised speculation about her safety. Her daughter, who now resides in Alabama, grew up with various theories surrounding her mother's disappearance, including suspicions that Crow might have entered witness protection. Complicating matters, some family members knew Crow by a different name, Gina Ortega, adding layers to the confusion around her case. There has been speculation that she had been reported missing under the Gina Ortega name. However, given her drifter lifestyle and the lack of communication between the authorities in the 80s, this may have gone entirely unnoticed. The mystery surrounding her cause of death persists, as authorities have yet to determine whether her death was intentional or resulted from an accident. A t-shirt with a Top Rail Country Music Dallas, Texas insignia was found near her body, but it provided no substantial leads. Investigators believe her body was likely deliberately concealed, though specific evidence of a crime is lacking. Her daughter and remaining family have expressed relief at finally having closure, even if details surrounding her final days remain unclear. If you have any information about Cindy Crow, please contact the Arlington County Sheriff's Office. The John Frum cargo cult is a religious movement that emerged in the 1930s on the island of Tanna, part of present-day Vanuatu, formerly known as the New Hebrides. The cult is centered around a figure named John Frum, who is often depicted as an American serviceman. This movement is considered a cargo cult, a type of religious movement that arose in Melanesia. Adherents believe that ritualistic practices will bring wealth and material goods, referred to as cargo, from supernatural sources or foreign benefactors. The cult originated as a reaction to the sudden influx of supplies and foreign influence before and during World War II. It was interpreted by locals as a promise of prosperity if they followed the guidance of John Frum. The John Frum figure, who is also referred to by various similar names like John Brum or John Prum, is said to have first appeared to the islanders of Tanna just before World War II. Notably, his name John Frum is thought by many to be a corruption of a greeting, which likely included the phrase John from America. He dressed in Western clothes and claimed that he would bring wealth in the form of Western goods, such as food, houses, and clothing. Frum told the people to abandon Christianity, money, and their employment on plantations to prepare for a new age of prosperity, which led to their dramatic break with colonial influences. In one interpretation, John Frum is believed to be a spirit vision experienced while using kava, a psychoactive plant native to the Pacific Islands. The vision predicted the departure of European colonizers, and the return of wealth that the indigenous people felt was stolen by them. This prophecy led to a number of ritual activities aimed at ushering in this transformation, such as building symbolic landing strips. These strips were intended to attract the planes that would deliver the promised cargo. Followers hoped that these preparations would bring about a reversal of the colonial order, giving the islanders the wealth and power that foreigners held. The cargo cultists adopted the John Frum belief system, and then a crazy thing happened. World War II brought unprecedented changes to the New Hebrides. To the islanders, the association was obvious. They did what John Frum told them to do, and in return, John Frum brought immense wealth to the island, if only for a short time. The arrival of thousands of American soldiers in the New Hebrides brought unprecedented amounts of supplies and technology to the islands. This had a significant impact on the islanders, who interpreted the massive influx of goods as a fulfillment of John Frum's promise. The locals believed that these supplies were meant for them, but had been intercepted by the foreigners. After the war, as American forces departed, John Frum followers began constructing airstrips and conducting rituals. These rituals were conducted in hopes of attracting more planes carrying goods, interpreting the prosperity they had seen as having divine or supernatural origins that would eventually return. The idea of a living megalodon hiding in the depths of the ocean captures the imagination, given that the vast majority of our oceans remain unexplored. The megalodon, a colossal prehistoric shark measuring up to 60 feet in length, dominated the ocean's top predator slot until its extinction roughly 2.5 million years ago. One popular theory suggests that megalodons might survive in the deep ocean, particularly in areas like the Mariana Trench. Yet, the reality of deep-sea conditions challenges this theory. For one, the megalodon was adapted to warm, shallow waters where its prey, including smaller whales, was abundant. The extreme pressures and freezing temperatures of deep-sea regions, like the Mariana Trench, would likely be uninhabitable for such a large, warm-blooded predator. Most life in the deepest parts of the ocean comprises small, cold-blooded creatures capable of surviving on minimal resources. These are hardly enough to sustain a megalodon's dietary needs, which would demand consistent access to large prey to maintain its massive size and energy needs. The hypothesis of an undetected megalodon also confronts the fact that modern apex predators, such as great white sharks, have filled ecological niches that the megalodon left behind. Studies show that if a megalodon were alive, its impact on marine ecosystems would be significant. As an apex predator, it would likely disrupt food chains and could directly compete with great whites, resulting in observable ecological and behavioral shifts among marine species. Furthermore, any large population of megalodons would likely leave carcasses, remains, or injuries on marine mammals, yet such evidence remains elusive. Megalodon teeth, often found in coastal deposits and sometimes even in deeper sediments, haven't appeared in younger layers of the fossil record. The last megalodon teeth date back millions of years, suggesting that the species has not adapted to survive recent climatic and ecological shifts. Though there are tales of fresh megalodon teeth pulled from the ocean floor, Mainstream science presents these as cases where the ocean floor has been disturbed. Personally, while I think there's no chance the megalodon has survived, I think it's necessary to present the opposing view on this one as well. According to believers, the notion of surviving megalodons gains plausibility considering the ocean's vast, unexplored regions, where an ancient predator could theoretically evade detection. Scientists estimate that over 80% of the ocean remains unmapped, suggesting that massive creatures could inhabit these depths without leaving visible traces. Additionally, some species, like giant squids, evaded documentation for centuries, showing how elusive large marine animals can be. Believers argue megalodons could survive undetected by adapting to different ecological niches, perhaps in the lower ocean zones. The survival of living fossils like the coelacanth, rediscovered after 66 million years, demonstrates that ancient species can endure under isolated, favorable conditions. Furthermore, they argue that some unexplained carcasses and bite marks hint at the presence of large, unidentified predators. Another argument suggests that the reason for the lack of any clear megalodon bite marks is that creatures that have a run-in with a megalodon simply do not survive. Hey everyone, it's Jimmy here, just reminding you to like and subscribe and to hit the notification bell. Also remember to sign up for a YouTube membership or Patreon membership to support the channel further. Kimberly Watts, a 48-year-old nurse from Long Beach, Mississippi, was discovered lifeless in her home on November 11, 2014. Co-workers at Gulfport Memorial Hospital raised an alarm when she failed to show up for her shift, prompting her family to check on her well-being. Watts' brother-in-law, George Bass, ultimately made the heartbreaking discovery after entering her home. She had been attacked in her bedroom, still in her nursing uniform from the previous day. The nature of her passing was brutal, with multiple signs of forceful harm, leading authorities to immediately launch a comprehensive investigation into the circumstances surrounding her death. The investigation, initially handled by the Long Beach PD, later transitioned to the Harrison County Sheriff's Office when George Bass, Watts' brother-in-law, became the mayor of Long Beach. This move was meant to prevent potential conflicts of interest and ensure objectivity in the search for her assailant. Although law enforcement gathered numerous pieces of evidence from the crime scene, the case remains unsolved, with no arrests to date. Throughout the investigation, family members and close friends remained vocal, pushing for justice, and even offering a $10,000 reward for information that could lead to the identification of the perpetrator. In 2017, Watts' son, Trevor, pursued a wrongful death lawsuit against his father, Thomas Watts, suspecting his involvement. Although no criminal charges were filed, Thomas was questioned during the investigation and invoked his Fifth Amendment right to avoid self-incrimination. The court later dismissed the case due to insufficient evidence directly linking him to the event. Trevor's claim largely depended on circumstantial elements, which the court ruled were not strong enough to substantiate a finding of responsibility. If you have any information about this case, please contact the Harrison County Sheriff's Office with information. The concept of Earth as a living entity has roots in both ancient mythologies and modern scientific theories. The idea that the planet itself is alive or functions as a cohesive living organism has evolved over centuries, influenced by both philosophy and scientific discoveries. Historically, the notion of the Earth as a living entity is reflected in many cultures. The Greeks, for instance, conceptualized Gaia, the goddess of the earth, as a nurturing figure responsible for all life. Similarly, various indigenous cultures have believed that Earth possesses a spiritual essence or consciousness, attributing life to the environment that surrounds them. These early ideas laid the groundwork for modern interpretations that suggest Earth itself has qualities akin to a living being. The modern theory of Earth as a living entity gained prominence with the development of the Gaia hypothesis in the late 20th century. The Gaia hypothesis puts forth that Earth's biological and physical components interact in a complex system that maintains conditions favorable for life. It was suggested that the biosphere, atmosphere, oceans, and soil are all tightly coupled to form a self-regulating system that sustains life through feedback loops. Unsurprisingly, the theory was named after the Greek goddess, reflecting the view of Earth as a singular living organism, which harkened back to the idea of the Earth as a literal entity. The Gaia hypothesis faced both support and criticism within the scientific community. Early supporters viewed it as an insightful way to understand the interconnectedness of Earth's systems. The idea that living organisms collectively affect the Earth's climate and atmospheric chemistry to make it habitable suggested a powerful form of cooperation across species and ecosystems. However, critics argued that it lacked rigorous scientific basis, especially concerning the suggestion that Earth, quote-unquote, intends to maintain life-sustaining conditions. In response to criticism, the creator of the theory later refined the hypothesis to focus on cybernetic feedback systems rather than purpose-driven behavior. Modern extensions of the Gaia concept have led to more scientifically grounded theories. One of these is the concept of Earth system science, which treats the planet as an integrated set of physical, chemical, biological, and human interactions. This approach, while less metaphorical than the original Gaia hypothesis, retains the focus on the interconnectedness of Earth's systems. It emphasizes that all elements, land, water, air, and life, are linked, influencing and responding to each other. The interactions are not aimed at maintaining life in a purposive way, as suggested by early interpretations of Gaia, but instead occur through dynamic feedback loops driven by natural processes. Literal belief in the concept of Earth as a living entity, as proposed by the Gaia hypothesis, has attracted a small but passionate group of proponents. These individuals believe that Earth functions as a conscious, self-regulating organism, which has implications for spirituality and environmental ethics. Some interpret Gaia as having an inherent intelligence, guiding natural processes toward balance. Further, the idea of Earth's consciousness as an emergent phenomenon suggests that collective interactions between living organisms and ecosystems might lead to a form of planetary awareness. While intriguing, it lacks empirical support and remains outside mainstream scientific acceptance. The literal belief often aligns with deep ecology and eco-spiritual movements rather than mainstream scientific perspectives. Göbekli Tepe, located in Turkey, has been hailed as the world's oldest known temple complex and the oldest known human building, revolutionizing understanding of prehistoric societies. Dating back over 11,000 years, this site was constructed by early Neolithic humans during a period when farming and settled life were still in their infancy. The site consists of large circular structures known as enclosures, each containing massive T-shaped stone pillars. These pillars, some towering over 5 meters high, are adorned with intricate carvings of animals like snakes, vultures, wild boars, and foxes, often depicted in relief. These carvings are believed to have had symbolic significance, potentially relating to religious or spiritual practices. Interestingly, no evidence of permanent habitation has been found at Göbekli Tepe, suggesting that it was a ceremonial site for semi-nomadic hunter-gatherers rather than a village or town. One of the most remarkable aspects of Göbekli Tepe is the advanced engineering and organization required to build it. The people who constructed this site did so without metal tools or domesticated animals, raising questions about how they managed to transport and erect the enormous stone pillars. This has led archaeologists to hypothesize that Göbekli Tepe may have been a gathering place where different groups of people came together for religious rituals or social events. Excavations at Göbekli Tepe have revealed three main levels of construction. The oldest, known as Level 3, features the most complex and monumental architecture, including large stone circles with richly carved pillars. Later levels, particularly Level 2, show a shift towards more rectangular enclosures, indicating a possible evolution in architectural style over time. Interestingly, the oldest level appears to be the most advanced, raising questions about how and why construction techniques seem to have regressed in later phases. The carvings on the pillars are not just decorative but are believed to be deeply symbolic, possibly representing totems or spiritual beliefs. For example, enclosure A is dominated by carvings of snakes, which may have had mythological or religious importance in the region. Similarly, enclosure C features depictions of wild boars, while enclosure B is known for its carvings of foxes. These animal motifs are repeated throughout the site and seem to reflect a sophisticated symbolic system consistent with early spiritual or religious beliefs. One of the most intriguing mysteries surrounding Göbekli Tepe is its intentional burial. Around 8000 BC, the entire site was deliberately covered with dirt, preserving it for millennia. The reasons for this burial remain unclear, though some researchers speculate it could have been part of a ritual or a way to mark the end of its use. Others suggest it may have been an effort to preserve the sanctity of the site, or simply a practical measure as the site fell out of use. New discoveries continue to emerge from Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe has upended previous theories about the development of human civilization. Before its discovery, it was widely believed that large, complex societies could only develop after the advent of agriculture. However, Göbekli Tepe demonstrates that even hunter-gatherers were capable of organizing large-scale construction projects and engaging in complex social and religious activities. Some scholars now believe that sites like Göbekli Tepe may have played a role in the eventual transition to agriculture. These scholars suggest the need to feed and organize large groups of people in the area could have led to the increased domestication of plants and animals. The civilization responsible for building Göbekli Tepe remains largely mysterious, as no written records or clear evidence of a unified political structure have been found. The builders of Göbekli Tepe are theorized to have lived in small, mobile groups and relied on foraging, hunting, and fishing for survival. Today, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and continues to be a focus of archaeological research. Its significance lies not only in its age, but in what it reveals about the social and cultural capabilities of early human societies. As excavations continue, it is likely that Göbekli Tepe will offer even more insights into the origins of human civilization and the development of religion, art, and architecture. Globsters, also known as blobs, are mysterious, unidentified organic masses that have periodically washed up on shores around the world. These strange carcasses often defy immediate identification and have sparked significant curiosity in the cryptozoological community and the scientific community. The term was first coined by cryptozoologist Ivan T. Sanderson in 1962 to describe the Tasmanian globster of 1960. The term globster refers to masses that typically lack a defined head, eyes, or apparent bone structure, making them difficult for even experts to identify upon first inspection. The history of globster sightings is replete with fascinating tales, blending science with speculation. The first well-documented globster was the Stronsay beast, which washed ashore in Scotland in 1808. Initially thought to be an unknown sea monster, it was later hypothesized to be the decaying carcass of a basking shark. In 1896, the so-called St. Augustine monster washed ashore in Florida. At the time, it was believed by some to be an enormous octopus, but analysis revealed it was likely the remains of a whale, with its decomposing blubber giving it an unusual and unrecognizable appearance. Over the years, other notable globsters have included Trunco in 1924, the Tasmanian globster, 1960, and the New Zealand globster, among others. Trunco, for example, was seen fighting with whales off the coast of South Africa before its carcass washed ashore, only to vanish before scientists could study it. Its description as having a trunk and a coat of white fur added to its mystery, but many now believe it was a decaying whale carcass or another large marine mammal. The Tasmanian globster was identified as a whale carcass, while the New Zealand globster was likewise determined to be from a whale, specifically after DNA analysis. In general, most globsters have ultimately been identified as decaying whales or basking sharks. This identification challenge arises largely because of how these animals decompose in the ocean. When a whale or a large shark dies, its body often breaks down in stages, with blubber and connective tissues often surviving longer than bones or other identifying features. The remaining mass can be easily mistaken for an unknown sea creature, particularly by those unfamiliar with marine biology. One of the key reasons globsters have attracted so much attention is their uncanny resemblance to creatures of myth and legend. Some of these masses, particularly those that seem to have tentacle-like appendages, have led people to speculate that they could be the remains of enormous octopuses or even sea monsters. The discovery of the Chilean blob in 2003 fueled these ideas, but subsequent analysis proved it to be nothing more than whale blubber, much like many of its predecessors. Historically, globsters have generated a wide array of theories. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, there were few tools available to study these enigmatic masses scientifically, which led to rampant speculation. Many globsters were thought to be evidence of undiscovered sea monsters, feeding into local folklore and maritime legends. For example, the Stronsay beast was seen by some as proof of the existence of a gigantic sea serpent, an idea that was supported by its size and the public's fascination with sea monsters. However, with the advancement of marine biology and the advent of DNA testing, most of these theories have been debunked, leading to more mundane explanations rooted in science. Modern theories about globsters rely heavily on biological and forensic analysis. As scientific understanding of marine decomposition has grown, the mystery surrounding globsters has diminished significantly. Lilith is regarded as Adam's first wife in some Jewish and Christian texts. Lilith's earliest origins can be traced to Mesopotamian mythology, where she was part of a class of female demons linked with storms and the night. These early depictions, such as her appearance in the Epic of Gilgamesh, describe her as a destructive, vampiric figure who fled to the desert after her lair, a sacred tree, was destroyed. In this context, Lilith embodied the fears associated with untamed nocturnal forces. Her characteristics were later absorbed into early Jewish demonology, where she became an archetype of female rebellion and danger. In Jewish mythology, Lilith's most famous role is as Adam's first wife. According to this tradition, Lilith was created at the same time and from the same earth as Adam. However, she refused to be subservient to him, insisting on equality. When Adam attempted to force her into submission, Lilith fled the Garden of Eden. According to tradition, this act of rebellion led her to be permanently cast out and transformed into a demon. In Kabbalistic traditions, Lilith is often paired with the archangel Samael, with whom she is said to have birthed numerous demonic offspring. Together, they are sometimes portrayed as a dark mirror to Adam and Eve, symbolizing the inversion of divine order. Amulets and incantations were commonly used to ward off Lilith's influence, particularly for women during childbirth, a time when she was believed to be most dangerous. These protective measures became a significant part of Jewish magical practices, often invoking angels or sacred texts to counteract her power. In Christian demonology, Lilith was often associated with witches and was said to have command of legions of succubi meant to lead men astray. Modern interpretations of Lilith tend to paint her in a much more positive light than traditional interpretations did. In Wicca and modern witchcraft, Lilith is venerated as a symbol of feminine empowerment, autonomy, and the untamed aspects of the divine feminine. She is often invoked in practices that emphasize personal strength, independence, and resistance to societal constraints. Unlike the more demonized portrayals in older religious texts, in Wicca, Lilith is celebrated for her defiance against societal norms and is seen as a figure who embodies the power of self-determination. Check out my channel for content ranging from unsolved mysteries to true crime to the occult to urban legends and more. There's something there for everyone. Also, if you're looking to chill out and study or go to sleep, click my 11-hour Unsolved Mysteries compilation in the video.